My name is Bassem Fakhouri. I am a volunteer here for the Roswell Community Masjid. On behalf of everybody else on the board and in the executive committees, I welcome you to our 2019 City Council Forum. We're hoping that this is going to be an opportunity to see the personalities of the candidates and their way of thinking. This is meant to complement the debate that's happening on October 1st, where the issues are really going to be discussed at that time. So think of this as sort of a glimpse on how each one of these candidates' leadership skills and what they're going to bring to the council in a general manner. I want to thank all the candidates for running and putting themselves out there. I know it's not easy, so please let's give them all a hand for doing this. I also want to acknowledge that Judge Brian Hansford is here in the audience and that our esteemed mayor, Lori Henry, is here. So make sure that you say hello and thank them for coming. So thank you both for honoring us with your presence. This event wouldn't have been possible without the help of IPAC, which is an independent political action committee that has been working with the Roswell Community Masjid on expanding the footprint of the Muslim community in the arena of elections. And so we're trying to educate the candidates about what are the issues that are important to the Muslim community, as well as educate the Muslim community about their rights and how to vote for the right candidates. Before I turn it over to our moderator, Aisha, who's here back by popular demand and is going to actually explain all the rules, I want to wish everybody, all the candidates, the best of success. I pray that they bring the wisdom that it takes to take our city to the next level. And I pray that our community finds the right choice and picks the right choice. So thank you all for coming. Aisha, it's all yours.
Good evening and assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Bassem, for the introduction. Good evening. My name is Aisha Mahmoud, and I am your moderator for tonight. I'm so thankful to be able to host yet another candidate forum being hosted here at RCM. And I also thank the candidates for taking their time out to attend. I know what campaign life is like, so I appreciate every moment that you have to spend with us here. The rules of tonight's forum are as follows. Candidates will be grouped according to their posts that they're running for and will be called up in that order. Candidates will each get 10 minutes of speaking time in which they will be able to give their opening statement, answer 3 questions, and give a closing statement if time allows. They are responsible for keeping their own time for each prompt, but a timekeeper at the front will alert them at various increments. Each candidate will be invited up to the podium and I will prompt them to give their opening statement. After they signal completion of their opening statement, I will ask them their first question. After they answer the first question, they will signal to me and I will ask them the second question, etc., etc. If a candidate goes over their 10-minute time, they will not be allotted any additional time, even if they haven't finished all 3 questions. And at the end, I encourage everyone to stick around and chat with the candidates afterwards to ask any additional questions, because I don't think we'll get to cover quite everything during the forum. Now, I want to go ahead and without further ado, just jump into our candidates for post 1. Right, so first we're going to have Mr. Don Horton come up to the podium and kick us off. And when you're ready, please begin with your opening statement.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks to the Community Masjid for hosting this forum this evening, and I want to thank all of you for coming out, taking your time to listen to the candidates tonight. I am Don Horton, and I am running for Roswell City Council Post 1. My wife and I have lived in Roswell for 33 years. We've raised our family here, and now my children are raising their families here as well. Roswell is a great community, and it has unique charm. But today, Roswell is at a critical juncture. Our neighbors, Alpharetta and Sandy Springs, are gaining advantage over us on economic development and innovation. I'm running for city council because now more than ever, we need strong leadership on city council to help Roswell regain the advantage and move our city forward. As many of you know, I served previously on council. During my tenure, I developed a record of bringing results and of being someone who can find common ground. I am most proud of the purchase of the Seven Branches property. I was able to bring several diverse homeowners or property owners together to negotiate with the city when they were not willing to negotiate prior. We were able to acquire the property with a conservation loan at 0.5%, a loan that I brought to the attention of the city. I was the first on board when we had the chance to buy the Southern Skillet property, because I knew that if we had control of the property, we could control its ultimate development. And as you know, I'm very passionate about Roswell's rich history, but I also know that we cannot stop growing. In the very near future, we will not be able to provide the same level of services that we do today because our commercial tax base is only 27%, while the residential tax base is 73%. So you, as homeowners, are carrying the load. We need to recruit high-quality businesses to come to Roswell to help balance that tax base. To ensure that we have appropriate growth, I believe it is time to hire a town architect. These individuals are skilled at helping developers and cities match projects to various character areas. I know of numerous historical towns throughout the country, and they all have town architects. I've done a lot of research regarding smart city technology. These technologies could actually help us move traffic more efficiently through town. If we don't innovate and adapt, we're going to be left behind. I need your support, and I'm asking for your vote on November 5th. I know together we can build a city that we can all be proud to call home.
Thank you. Your first question, can you give us an example of how you will make decisions for the diverse community we have here in Roswell? How can you make sure that all members of our community feel represented?
Well, the first thing is making sure that they have the ability to get in contact with me. If they've got concerns, issues, and they want to bring it up, I want to make sure that they are able to contact me and that I can respond to them appropriately. So that's really important. And I think it's important to have groups of people of diverse backgrounds because, and in committees, in various groups, because they are oftentimes better able to provide, what I want to say, they have gifts, individual gifts, and they can provide maybe ideas that homogeneous groups might not ordinarily be able to provide.
Thank you. What is your approach to resolving conflicts that arise from differences of opinions? How will you help to build consensus on City Council?
That's also, I mean, it's difficult at times. You have to be willing to listen to other people. You have to be able to listen and actually think about what that position is that somebody else has. And then you have to try to find common ground. You can't get a resolution unless you can find common ground. And you all have to basically be willing to work together, and oftentimes it means compromise. Sometimes compromise is appropriate.
Thank you. Your last question is, can you explain to us a little bit more about your priorities that you're hoping to accomplish on City Council, and how will you work with your colleagues on the council to achieve them?
Well, among my priorities, obviously, hiring a town architect, I feel that's a very important priority. The City Council recently passed the historical, the master plan for the historic district, and there were numerous recommendations in there that I feel are very important to put into ordinance, into law. So those are a couple of the things that are major priorities for me. And once again, it's a matter of sitting down with people that may have a different view and try to explain your view, have documentation available so that people can understand where you're coming from, and then be willing to listen to them as well.
Thank you. Mr. Horton, you have about 5 minutes left for a closing statement. You're welcome to use all that time or any time that you wish from that time.
Okay. Well, I want to say thanks again for hosting this event this evening, and all of you for coming. That you're taking your time to be informed voters, I think is admirable. I believe Roswell's history, Roswell's future trajectory will be determined in the next 4 years. It is imperative that we elect real leadership to the City Council. Leadership is not a slogan. Leadership is action. With many years in the financial services industry, 10 years as an HOA president, and a former council member, I bring a wealth of experience to City Council. This election is very important. There's so much work that needs to be done to help our city grow, to prosper, and compete with our neighbors. Recently, I had the opportunity to sit with a couple of Alpharetta council people, and they said, Don, just keep things going the way they're going in Roswell. We like it that way because we're getting the new business. The council and residents have to work together, allowing compromise when it's appropriate and creating a vision for the future of Roswell. And this vision has to extend beyond the next election. This vision should be looking out 20 years from now. What do we want Roswell to look like 20 years from now? With your support, I know that we can help make Roswell a city that we're all proud to call our home. On November 5th, I'm asking for you to vote for Don Horton. It's a name you can trust to get things done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Marcelo Zapata up to the podium. He is your other candidate for Post 1.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for the Roswell Community Masjid to organize this. Thank you for inviting all the candidates tonight. I'm Marcelo Zapata, and I'm running for re-election for a second term for Roswell City Council Post 1. I have been living in Roswell for the last 19 years with my wonderful wife, Selena, and my adorable, most of the time, daughter. I'm a long-time small business owner, and I have a degree in international business and a master's degree in business administration from Bocconi University in Milan, Italy. I'm running for re-election for a second-year term for Roswell Council Post 1 to continue consistently working for the community at large, bringing your unheard voices to City Hall. During nearly 4 years, I had the opportunity to stay strong representing the vision, needs, and wishes of the community at large, which is reflected in my consistent community-oriented voting record, approaching issues with common sense, reasoning voice, and an analytical understanding of complex issues. During this time, I had the opportunity and the privilege to vote on improvement to the Unified Development Code to protect the character of our diverse, well-established neighborhoods. Rejected projects that were out of character in terms of mass and scale and did not fulfill the needs and wishes of the community at large. Opposed to well-established neighborhood, nonsense cut-through roads. Initiated a resolution to protect Big Creek Park. Encouraged from day one the council to acquire Mimosa Hall and all parcels of 7 branches Legacy Park. Advanced the creation of Roswell Fire Labs, also well known as the Makerspace. Supported investment in public safety and public infrastructure. Initiated discussion for new, more effective and accountable economic development organizational structure. That is one of my biggest passions here, that we can talk later about that. Voted for a responsible, conservative budget and millage rate. Provided balance to the recently elected council voting bloc part of the system.
Thank you.
And I leave for more for the closing.
Can you give us an example of how you will make decisions for the diverse communities we have here in Roswell? And how can you make sure that all members feel represented?
For me, diversity must go hand in hand with tolerance. Understanding that each individual is unique, recognizing our individual differences and capabilities. Having the experience of living, working, and studying in 5 different countries, and having the chance to learn 3 new languages early on my adult life gave me the opportunity to experience and understand diversity on a full-scale dimension. And I'm going to give you a little example of what working on diversity environment is. During my MBA in Milan, my class was full of students from all over the world with all different kind of backgrounds: engineering, lawyers, business people, mathematicians, every kind of diversity in terms of education and in terms of culture. And the teachers will give us group assignments. I say, hey, you 7 have to work on this particular assignment and have to come back in 2 weeks with a presentation for the rest of the class. And that was one of the best experiences of my life, working on diverse community, because not only culture, but how me, a business person, have to deal with a lawyer. I'm not picking on lawyers, but it was hard. But then you have to deal with that. And you know what? Because we have a common goal, which was a specific project to come out to present to the class. Another quick example, when I was working in Brazil on a manufacture plant, wire harnesses, employees, they will have sometime there in Brazil 1 meal a day. So they will eat a lot during lunchtime because the manufacture plant provide food for the employees. So they will eat in 5 minutes and run back to the workstation, and will put a cardboard there, and they will sleep in there for a few minutes before going back to work. This was shocking at the beginning, but I understood. That is what you have to deal when you are dealing with different diverse culture.
What is your approach to resolving conflicts that arise from differences of opinions? And how will you build to help consensus on the City Council?
So first I would like to go through points that we need to consider to conflict resolution. First, do not take city business personal. I learned this. Is business or personally benefit out of the city business. Don't do any of those 2 things. Communicate openly. Yeah, those 4 years gave me a lot of experience at City Hall. So communicate openly with the community, not conversations behind doors, closed doors. Actively listen, understand, and respect different opinions. Produce and review different opinions toward the same goal. That is the key, is having the same goal and getting all this mind toward working on this goal. And to end with a win solution, sometimes it's like lose-lose solution, but where everyone gets something. And no party wins with aggressively behavior. So that is how having this approach, do not take city business personal, communicate openly, actively listen, produce and review different options. We need to have in projects at City Hall, everywhere, different options for us to choose and the community. And a win-win solution where nobody gets everything that they want, but you get something.
Thank you. Can you share a little bit about your priorities for your next term on City Council, and how will you work with your colleagues on the council to achieve them?
So first I would say that we need to set clear goals first, before you set priorities, how to reach those goals. that fulfills the vision, the needs, and wishes of the community at large. For example, a set of goal is traffic and transportation improvement. If we all agree, they need to put all the minds together to work on that. Maintain and update our extensive and diverse park system. Protect and enhance the character and functionality of our diverse, well-established neighborhoods. Advance economic development. Then, when we set the goals first, what we want to accomplish, then setting priorities according with different criteria become crucial to achieve successfully these goals. So I will start with the goals, and then I will go to setting priorities, how to achieve this goal. And every goal has different set of priorities and different approach for priorities and criteria.
Thank you. You have about 2.5 minutes for your closing statement.
Oh, that's not good. So, okay. At the end of the day, we, the people of Roswell, need to vote for a candidate we can trust, that will move forward the vision, the needs, and the wishes of the residents, and vote continuously for the best interest of the community at large, and not for the special interest, and not for continue floating down the current system. I have not broken campaign promises. I will complete my 4-year term in December 31st this year. I will finish my term. I stay constantly loyal to the community at large. I never turn back on you voters and supporters. I stay consistent and strong in front of a special interest, and I never became part of the system that you elect me 4 years ago to change and improve. Brighter days are ahead for all of us in Roswell with an open, transparent, inclusive, engaging, and responsive city government. I hope to earn your vote and look forward to continuing to represent you at City Hall, bringing your unheard voices. Let's continue what we started in 2015. Thank you so much.
Those were your candidates for post 1. We will now go ahead and move on to our candidates for post 2. I'd like to invite up Mike Palermo. And you may begin with your opening statement when you're ready.
Excellent. And first of all, this is okay. First of all, I really just want to thank the RCM. I want to thank Basim. There's a great community service tonight occurring. Really appreciate everybody that took the time to come here or watch, because it's so important to be involved and to vote. So thank you all. Really, I'm Mike Palermo. I got my MBA at Emory, and I'm a regional vice president managing a team of individuals that work closely with Fortune 500 companies. I fell in love with Roswell because of really the parks, the river, historic charm, and the great neighborhoods. And really, I knew this was the place I wanted to raise a family. So with that, what ended up happening was, about 4 years ago, I decided to run for office because I saw some of the decisions that were being made weren't for the long-term benefit of Roswell. A zoning code had been recently passed which allowed such higher densities, and as an example, paved the way for the then council to approve the large apartment building on the corner of Canton and Woodstock. So really, back then I had 1 child. Now I have 3. And really, it's just so important that they get to have an incredible place to grow up. And the decisions that this council makes really impact that. So that's what really drives me. And I just want to make sure we all get the opportunity to live in an incredible Roswell. Let's make the right decisions, not just the short-term decisions that might seem okay to some. So that's really an introduction.
Thank you. Can you give us an example of how you will make decisions for the diverse community we have here in Roswell? And how can you make sure all members feel represented?
Absolutely. So I think a key is just, first off, it's so important that all people in Roswell feel safe. And we truly do benefit from having people with different backgrounds, experiences, viewpoints. So earlier this year, there was an unfortunate event we were notified by a resident who emailed us that there was some propaganda left at a Roswell park. And so this resident emailed mayor and council, and so very quickly I invited her to come into City Hall to really learn a little more about what happened, and was really proud for the opportunity to partner with her. And she included the entire interfaith community, or so many different individuals from the interfaith community, where together we're able to kind of bring support and bring forward a resolution through City Council, which was unanimously supported and approved. And it really, I believe, sent two key messages. One key message it sent was the fact of just really officially reaffirming our core values. And number two is the fact that we were able to unanimously pass it, showing we stand united. So that was something I think important, just as a message to send. And also, actually, I'll point out even a third message, is the fact that one single resident decided to take her time. She saw an injustice. She saw something that should not be happening. She reached out to her elected officials, and she was able to drive change, partnering with the interfaith community, which was just fantastic. So really remember, you all get to make a difference. You all have a strong voice, and please just continue to be involved. And if you see injustice, stand up against it. I do actually want to call it another aspect around diversity, though, as well, which is diversity of thought. So I think it's so important to have true diversity. It's so important also to have really a diversity of thought, which is something that just, I think, creates a better atmosphere. In the business world, whether it was a team working on our MBA or an actual cross-functional team that we have working with large, complex corporate clients, it's really important to have different people with different experiences and different thought processes, because it really creates a better outcome. The same thing is the situation with council. So we have, for example, currently there's 3 city council members that are not up for re-election. And they are consistently doing some things that I disagree with, which not right here to say what's right and what's wrong. Again, my point is the diversity of thought. The fact that we have 3 council members that are consistently voting for more multifamily buildings, supporting more townhomes, and it's really impacting so many different aspects of Roswell. And I think there's concerns when the fact that my opponent supported those three elected officials not up for re-election, and it seems to me that some of them are returning that favor. I think it's so key to be able to have these different voices, because to elect candidates aligned, that where you get one single voice on council, you're going to hear a lot less different points of view, and really what you're going to risk doing is removing diversity of thought, removing possible compromises, and creating less transparency in our government.
And how will you help to build consensus on City Council?
Absolutely. So an important first step in conflict resolution is really wanting to understand what information do the others have that perhaps I should want to understand and factor in. You know, what experiences perhaps have they had that's leading them to have a different thought process and have a different perspective. So I think it's important that we're all understanding where each individual is coming from. I think it's important also that no matter how much we disagree, we focus on facts. We be calm and we're respectful. So I think that's absolutely key when it comes to conflict resolution. I do want to make it clear, I believe we should disagree. I just brought that up with the diversity of thought. I think absolutely disagreement is a good thing among our elected officials. I think there's a reason why there's 6 council members instead of just 1 to get those different perspectives. And because I think if there's no disagreement, is it because everyone's singing the same tune? Is it because important details were decided behind closed doors? And I think it's frustrating for residents when they show up to a meeting and the majority of this council appears like they already made up their mind. Residents deserve to have a strong voice, and decisions should be made at the council meeting. And so that's something I bring up with it as well. And no diversity of thought on council, and no disagreement, or I'll even just say conflict, might look great, but it doesn't lead to great governance.
Thank you. Can you share a little bit about your priorities and how you'll work with your colleagues on the council to achieve them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think first off, when really just setting priorities, I think it's really important to just understand my perspective is the fact that all of you residents, you are my boss. You give me the opportunity to represent you, and I sincerely appreciate that. And so at all times, I'm looking at how can I ensure that my priorities are really aligned and in step with the priorities that I see and hear from so many different residents. And so with that, what I think is really important is gathering that feedback. I'm really looking forward to getting more resident feedback from the master plan and that outreach that's occurred. So hopefully you all had a chance to do that. But when I look at it, just first off, safety is paramount. So at the end of the day, safety is paramount, whether it's police and fire safety, as well as I think a good example is recently with Highway 9. So it's the nickname for the middle lane is a suicide lane because it is very dangerous. And I think it's very important that we're making that safer with the 4 lanes and potentially at parts that median in the middle. And at the same time, knowing safety is a priority, we realize there's a lot of other priorities that we need to take into account. Preserving our character, our green space, and really minimizing cut-through traffic. And these are different things that can be accomplished by reducing the footprint. But the key is to make sure we have a complex, diverse group of residents in Roswell, and we absolutely should be attacking different priorities at different times. And so I think what I do want to bring up as well, though, is this council that you're about to elect half the council. A key to understand is the fact that probably the largest impact that we make a difference on is regarding zoning. And that's also the aspect where there's the most difference in opinion. So I think it's just really important to make sure that you're electing officials that you're confident can be a voice for you and really fight for what's most important to you. So with that, just the last thing I want to mention as well is just so important you're coming here, because what you're going to hear from all the different candidates, you're going to hear so much of the similar things. You're going to hear a lot of the same talking points from all 8 of us. And it's so important to really look closer and look to see really, who is that person willing to fight with you, to fight for you, and fight really for what's benefiting residents long term.
Thank you. You have just over a minute left for a closing statement.
Perfect. I really appreciate that. So again, thank you all for coming. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to represent you. Again, what I'm really asking for is give me that opportunity to be that different voice. Again, we've got 3 council members not up for re-election with their consistent voting record around so many more multifamily buildings, townhomes, and fighting against some of the protections that I've been wanting to bring to really the historic district that I do believe many of them are finally going to come from this historic district master plan. So really excited to get to see that come to fruition. But I would just absolutely love the opportunity to be that different voice and get to just stand up for a different view. One that says, we talked about Alpharetta earlier. Alpharetta makes decisions based on their code. Roswell is not. So Alpharetta is actually looking at what are the levels of density, what are the levels of apartments versus non-apartments. They're doing the right things that might seem tough on a developer, but at the same time they're tough for the residents, and I want to help give that fight. Thank you, everybody.
He is your second candidate for post 2, and whenever you're ready, you may begin with your opening statement.
Okay. Well, thank you, Roswell Community Masjid, for hosting this forum, and thank you for making this a tradition in Roswell during the campaign season. Bassem, thank you so much for all your volunteer efforts. We've crossed paths over the last several years through our volunteer efforts, and thank you for the talents that you've lent to our community. My name is Jeff Smith, and I'm running for Roswell City Council Post 2. I was born and raised in Roswell. Our city has grown a lot over the last 45 years, but I've always said this, I've said it a lot, that I would much rather be from the place that folks are moving to than the place they're all moving from. So we're very fortunate to be here in the metro Atlanta area with all of the opportunities that we have. And we're very fortunate to be living in Roswell, where our quality of life is just second to very, very, very few, really anywhere in the country. I've worked hard over the last 20 years to try and make our community better. I started off a volunteer firefighter 20 years ago before we had kids. Since then, I've had leadership positions in economic development and workforce development. And I started a collective impact project with a team of great folks at Mimosa Elementary School, where we work to increase the literacy rates for third grade students, which is the biggest predictor of their chances to graduate high school. I'm very proud of that. I've always tried to be a team player. I've always tried to rally people together. I've always tried to use all of the talents at the table. And we've always kept the mission at hand as the main focus of what we were trying to get to. We weren't trying to see who could take credit. We were trying to get to the mission at hand. And if you elect me at City Council, I promise that every decision I make will be to push Roswell towards being the best place to live, work, and play in the entire country.
Thank you. Can you give us an example of how you will make decisions for the diverse community we have here in Roswell? And how can you make sure that all members feel represented?
Well, absolutely. First of all, if you talk to me, you're going to notice that everybody starts with a clean slate. Doesn't matter where you're coming from. We always start fresh right off the bat, and we go from there. And everybody should be represented, and everybody should pitch in as well. So there are a ton of talents from all kinds of people throughout Roswell. And the more people get involved, the more we can use those talents, the more people will feel at home, and the more people will feel comfortable living here in Roswell. You know, the collective impact project I was talking about, 90% of the students at Mimosa Elementary use English as a second language. There's no more diverse school in North Fulton. And the reason it was so important is it doesn't matter where those students come from, where their backgrounds are, they're all going to grow up to be adults in our community. And if we work and pitch in and help, they can grow up and they'll have a better chance to be adults that give back to the community, adults that are able to support their families, adults that are able to help out this community. If we don't, then it's going to be a lot harder. And so it didn't matter where they came from. Everybody's going to grow up and everybody's going to live here and everybody has a chance to pitch in. So to me, the more we can help everybody in Roswell without thought to where they come from or who they are, the better off everybody will be in Roswell. Yeah.
Thank you. What is your approach to resolving conflicts that arise from differences of opinions, and how will you help to build consensus on City Council?
So disagreeing and conflict are two different things. And conflict to me is something that is better done. The best way you can resolve conflict is to work hard to make sure it doesn't arise to begin with. And a lot of that is understanding who's at the table, understanding that there are other people at the table, and communicating what you think is so great about your particular idea. We all have to always work together, and again, we always have to have that mission at hand, and we all always have to agree that we're all fighting for the same thing, that we're all fighting for a better Roswell. We may have different ideas of how to get there, but we all have to understand that so that we can disagree civilly. And if we don't get our opinion, if we don't win the argument, we have to move on. We can't hold grudges and take it to the next meeting. You have to move on. And so in terms of conflict resolution, it's always good to understand diversity goes hand in hand with those diverse opinions. It's good to understand who you're talking to. It's good to understand the benefits that everybody brings to the table and make everybody feel valued. But conflict in Roswell, we've been full of it really for the last 10 years, and it's time to tamp things down. You know, here in Roswell, if you go 10 miles in any direction, things get a lot worse real quick. If you can't be happy in Roswell, you ain't gonna be happy. That's just a fact, okay? We've got it pretty good here. So, like I said, the best thing you can do for conflict resolution is to try to avoid the conflict in the beginning by working with everybody, knowing who you're working with, and just communicating to everybody in an honest and open way. Not getting too proud, right? Wanting to win all the time, but just being honest and open about what your idea is, and then moving on if it doesn't work out.
Thank you. Each candidate has a set of priorities for what they would like to accomplish. Can you share a little bit more about your priorities and how you will work with your colleagues on the council to achieve them?
Absolutely. So my biggest priority is the least interesting priority, but if I don't have it, then nothing else matters. And to me, that is I want to bring a servant leadership style to this post. A servant leadership style to me means that I value everybody else's opinion. I value the staff at the city. I value and respect what other people have to say, and I can rally and support the mission at hand. If I can't do that, if I can't convince people of my opinion, if I can't get things done, then it doesn't matter what else I think, right? I might have the best ideas in the world, but if I can't get other people on board, then it doesn't matter, right? I can go write a book and maybe somebody will buy the book. So that's my biggest priority is being a servant leader at this post. One thing I'm very, very passionate about is, number one, I want to protect our neighborhoods, okay? I don't want high density in our neighborhoods. But the biggest thing I really want to do is fix the Holcomb Bridge corridor. Nobody drives up 400, gets off at Holcomb Bridge, and then goes, I'm home, right? You get off and you go, okay, I got to get through this so I can get home. And we need to make the Holcomb Bridge corridor look and feel more like home, more like Roswell. And I have some very specific plans that I would love to see pushed through up and down the Holcomb Bridge corridor, where we can make infrastructure improvements, sidewalk improvements, landscaping improvements, hide more of the cables that are overhead, get the commercial property owners involved, and make it look more like Roswell. Maybe the signs don't have to be green and white. Maybe we can brand the street signs so it looks and feels more like a branded city, so people know that, hey, we're at home. We're in Roswell now. And hopefully that's going to inspire those commercial property owners to want to reinvest in those commercial properties and make a push to get more office in Roswell. As Don mentioned before, our tax base is totally skewed. Alpharetta just doubled their homestead exemption because they've got such a huge commercial base, and they're building parking decks all over the place. And something we really need to look at in terms of trying to increase the values of those commercial properties. And a lot of that is repurposing those buildings towards office. So those are my two big priorities right now that we'll talk about.
Thank you. You have just over 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Okay. Then I wrote a 2-minute closing statement, so that's perfect. Again, thank you so much for hosting this forum, and so we can get the word out about all these candidates. As I said before, my mission will not be to keep my council seat. My mission will not be to get credit for motions presented. My mission will be to push Roswell towards being the best place to live, work, and play in the entire country. Every decision I make will be based off of that idea. I want to bring a servant leadership style to this post. We're not going to motivate our city staff by telling them what to do and berating them or disrespecting them by not showing up at committee meetings. We need to everyone brings something special to the table. We all have talents. Our community is made up of people who help each other and pitch in. It's a place where, while we may have differences and we may believe in different things, we still all understand that we're working towards a common idea. When you vote November 5th, you're voting for the person you can trust. And I can tell you everything you want to hear right now, right? That's easy. But if I'm not honest, then who knows what I'm going to do once I get elected? And even if I'm telling you things I earnestly believe in, if I don't have the ability to see them through, then none of that matters. I have a proven track record of working with people and getting things done. If in 4 years I don't think I'm getting things done, believe me, I will be the first one to jump off the city council and go back to my happy life right now with Brenda and our 2 boys. I'll vow to protect our neighborhoods and to fix the Holcomb Bridge corridor. And if you want someone who's honest and who's going to get things done, please vote for me, Jeff Smith, on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Those were your candidates for Post 2. Last but certainly not least, we have 3 candidates here for Post 3. I believe there is a 4th candidate who was not able to make it tonight. But we will go ahead and get started. I'd like to invite up Ms. Kay Howell. And whenever you're ready, you may begin with your opening statement.
Okay. Can everyone hear me? All right. My name is Kay Howell, and I'm running for post C3. I want to thank BASIM and RCM for having us here today, and for everyone for coming out and taking time out of your evening. You know, back when I was a little girl, my mother taught me, along with my grandmother, about how democracy works. So I kept that in mind as I was going through getting my undergrad degree at UGA and getting my MBA from Purdue and recently getting my doctorate. Of course, I got another master's, but let's not talk about that. And with all those things, plus my thoughts on democracy, I said, you know what? I can take that plus my process improvement background, which I've been doing for the last 20 years, and I can bring that to the city of Roswell. So I've been doing that for state and federal governments, and I felt like, well, if I can do that for them and they love it, why not bring that to my home? I love it here. I've been here 20 years, and I like my neighbors, so why not make things better? And that's what I want to do. I want to bring my skill set, my education to those people that I see on a daily basis. And that's why I'm running for post C3.
Thank you. Can you give us an example of how you will make decisions for the diverse community here in Roswell? And how can you make sure that all members feel represented?
Right, so I understand how someone may not feel represented. I had a couple of conversations with a few executives from American Express and along with some people from Coke, and how they operate, and what they were saying to me was the only way we can be successful, whether or not that's involving men and women in decisions or racial, cultural differences in people, that's the only way we're successful. So I think if we bring that kind of thought to Roswell, we can only be better, because you can't have a monolithic thought and think that you know everything and include people. So I think that if you allow everyone in the community, because that's one of my issues, transparency and cultural, involvement from the community, if you have that, then you'll be able to get a better thought and a better Roswell. We have a fantastic city. I truly believe that. I love it. But I think we could be better. And how do we do that? Well, we do that by including everyone. So allow people that may not look like you to come in and voice their opinion. You may not agree, but at least you can sit down, talk about it, and get something that works for Roswell. And that's what I would do.
Thank you. What is your approach to resolving conflicts that arise from differences of opinions, and how will you help to build consensus on City Council?
Yes. So I am a project manager and process improvement consultant. And just recently, I had, I would say, an opportunity for two executives. I found an issue in the process where there was minutes being lost on work. So that meant ultimately, if there were minutes lost on work, that means that there was going to be an impact in resources. So with that, one of the managers had an issue that she was going to lose resources, and the other manager had an issue with they were waiting on those business analysts or that role to help them with their process. So I had them both sit down, and we broke out the whiteboard, identified the benefits and the negatives to doing what we were going to do, and we figured out a solution. So I think that most of the time when you're dealing with some kind of conflict, that's what you need to do. Listen to everyone logically, take the emotion out of it, and figure out what the plan should be. Now, what is that goal? That goal should be, for this instance, it should be for the city. And you know what? It should really be for the citizens. So let's take that into consideration when we're doing this. And that's exactly what I did there, and that's what I would do for the city of Roswell.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your priorities on the council, and how will you work with your colleagues to achieve them?
So on the campaign trail, I've been knocking on doors, And people have been telling me a variety of things, whether or not that's keeping the green space or building high-density buildings, or people not listening to them. And the main thing that I saw was, I believe we have a transparency and a community involvement issue, because that's really the underlying issue. If we were listening and bringing people in, giving other avenues, similar to the coffee with the council, a larger avenue for having people come in if they don't have the schedule to come in on the Mondays at 7 or the 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock meetings, have another environment where people can come in and bring their kids and be able to discuss what's bothering them. I think that's what we should do.
Thank you. You have just about 5 minutes left for a closing statement. You're welcome to use any or all of that.
All right, well, I don't have a lot. I am Kay Howell. I'm running for post C3, as I said. I definitely need your vote. I would appreciate your vote. I thank everyone for coming here tonight. I am interested in bringing my skill set to the city of Roswell. I would like for you to take advantage of that. I wish that you get a council that you can trust and believe in, and I would like to be one of those. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate for post 3 will be Ms. Christine Hall. And whenever you're ready, you may begin your opening statement.
Okay. Some notes. Okay, I'm Christine Hall, and I am running for City Council Post 3. I believe in Roswell, and like many of you, I believe we share a similar vision of Roswell, a quaint, historic, strong, and vibrant city with good schools and lots of green space and great parks. That's what drew us to Roswell 27 years ago. I'm running because I want to protect and enhance everything that we love about Roswell. I grew up in a close-knit, working-class community where my parents taught me the value of hard work, respect for each other, being true to your word, and being accountable for your actions. My deep affection for community and service started early in life, and that's what I want to bring to you, serving as your council member. I'm going to give you a little bit about my background. So, my parents emigrated here to this country. I'm first generation. I learned to speak English in the first grade, or actually in kindergarten when I started school. And one thing that was interesting, when I started school, I grew up in Brooklyn in a very diverse community. There were kids from all cultures and countries that were in the same boat as I was. None of us spoke the same language, but we all got along. We went to recess, we had lunch together, we took naps together, and we learned together. And a lot of that reminds me of Roswell today, that we are a community. My mother is really the epitome of the American dream. She came here with little more than a suitcase, and she and my dad, they both emigrated, they worked very hard. My father passed away young, but my mother built a very successful real estate business. I worked in that business in high school and college as a realtor and a broker. Once I finished college, I went into the lending industry and stayed in lending for several years until we moved to Georgia. And once we were here, we were ready to start a family. And through that process, we felt that it was a good time to have our own business, so I ran a business in Perimeter Mall. We brought our children back from Ukraine, and when they were old enough to start school a couple years later, they were also in the they were in ESL because English was their second language, but they didn't have that when I went to school, when I started. I got back into my financial career, my corporate career in finance, and I went to work for an international company, a tech company that was based here in the U.S. and had the home base in Germany. So I spent a lot of time. I started as controller and then was promoted to CFO. I spent a lot of time traveling back and forth between Germany and the U.S. Currently, I work for Clifton Larson Allen. We're the 8th largest professional services firm in the country, and I'm the CFO for their Atlanta BizOps division. And what we do in BizOps is we provide outsourced financial services, and I serve as a CFO to several companies. Over the past 20 years, I've been very active in the community. Over the past 5 years, I've been extremely active since the new zoning code went into effect. I've been attending city council meetings, work meetings, and been active in all of the elections, or many of the elections. I've also been, the last 11 years, I've served on the PTA. I've served at many levels, at the local level, at the county level, district level, and currently I'm on the state finance committee for the Georgia State PTA, the executive finance committee, and I support them. And that's about me.
Thank you. Can you give us an example of how you will make decisions for the diverse community we have here in Roswell, and how can you make sure all members feel represented?
I think diversity is what makes the world go round. My family is diverse. It's diverse through adoption, not just my immediate family, but my extended family. We have seen diversity grow in Roswell. I think I looked at the census is coming out, but we're at roughly 25% people in Roswell that identify themselves as non-white. So that has increased over the years, and probably when the census comes out, we'll see that number grow. When at the schools, we do something fun, International Night. I'd like to see us celebrate our diversity. That's really what makes things interesting. Diversity should be celebrated. At the company I work for, diversity and inclusion, we have a big push for diversity. I'd like to see the city become more diverse just in the hiring plan. Recently, the police, the Gap report came out, and that was one of the things they noted was that perhaps the police department could be a little bit more diverse and more representative of our residents, of our population.
Thank you. What is your approach to resolving conflicts that arise from differences in opinions, and how will you help to build consensus on city council?
Number one, respect and professionalism. And as a couple other people mentioned, conflict resolution can be a healthy exchange of ideas. I mean, we do want to exchange ideas. And it's going to be very important to have an open mind. You need to be able to place yourself in the other person's shoes. Go back to your collective bargaining classes in school where you had to argue one side and then get on the other side and argue the other side. I think that's helpful to be able to see things from both sides. And you just work to find a compromise, to find a solution without compromising your own values.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit more about your priorities and how you will work with your colleagues on council to achieve them?
So health, safety, and welfare, that's really the main priority of our citizens. Keeping that as the base layer, we'll need to work on the strategic master plan. I'd like to see some priorities to work to really engage the citizens more. The city has reached out, is working on a strategic master plan for the city, and respondents are responding, but I think we need to ask more questions. There's going to be answers, and I think that's just the first phase. We have to continue to ask questions of the residents. We can't just assume to know things at face value.
Thank you. You have just about 2.5 minutes for your closing statement.
Okay, mine's going to be short. I think that we're formed by our experiences, what we've done in life, how active we've been, what we've done. All those things form us as people. And I feel that I'm the candidate in post 3 race that combines knowledge of the issues from being engaged just at so many levels in the city, relevant professional experience, and the long-term involvement in our community, that I can bring those things to the table and really work to listen and serve you, the residents of Roswell.
And I'd like to invite up our last candidate for post 3, Mr. Keith Goki. And whenever you're ready, you may begin with your opening statement.
Good evening, and thank you all who participated in making this forum happen. Thanks to all who came in person, and those who are watching online to get to know the candidates better. My name is Keith Goki, and I've lived in Roswell for 22 years as a small business owner, a former naval aviator, flight instructor, and legal liaison, former HOA president, husband, and father. I bring to the table a unique set of skills and strengths that I believe make me highly qualified to represent you on council. My amazing wife of 20 years, Jan, is a nurse practitioner in oncology at St. Joseph's. I have 3 beautiful daughters, Kate and Frankie, who have moved into adulthood, and the youngest, Alex, who is pursuing her education in music and the arts, and still resides at home. My entry into local politics began 2 years ago because of a high-density project being proposed in a nearby neighborhood. You may remember the development called Sassafras. As the HOA president of Hollyberry, I felt it was important to learn about and understand both sides of the issues, so I invited the developer to come and speak with our residents to discuss the plans from the source. Eventually, I represented the residents of our HOA at City Hall to challenge the developer to build something more appropriate for a suburban neighborhood. Roswell's population has nearly doubled over the last 30 years to become a city of nearly 100,000. It is imperative that the state's 9th largest city grow in the way it conducts business so that we get this right for future generations. We need a well thought out strategic vision to get all of us into the next 30 years and beyond. A vision that drives the city's strategic plan, zoning, ordinances, budgets, and leadership, enabling us to have a clear blueprint filled with clarity for every aspect that makes us distinctly, uniquely, and proudly Roswell. Plans made today will dramatically affect life as we know it in Roswell for us, our children, and our children's children. We are all as diverse in thought as we are in age, race, religion, culture, political beliefs, and more. Having a seat at the table to share those thoughts is where we all belong. Working to bring diverse ideas together to create a better vision for Roswell. After leaving the military and in my late 20s, I went through a time of introspection as I searched for meaning, purpose, and the direction I wanted to take with my life in the coming years. I looked for and found inspiration from renowned figures in history. Mahatma Gandhi was one of those people and is someone I truly admire. He once said, "Our ability to reach unity and diversity will be the beauty and the test of our civilization." To deny that unity and diversity doesn't test us at our core would really be disingenuous. But to deny that diversity is imperative for our future success is foolishness. Litmus tests that gauge the worthiness of a resident's input are truly unacceptable today, as all residents and business owners should be given the opportunity to be included in the process as we define what Roswell is now and what we will become. The makeup of Roswell's residents are changing, and we have a perfect opportunity to bring those ideas to the table to ensure we shape our future by incorporating the best and brightest of them. Roswell's 2012 Strategic Economic Development Plan states, "This growth and diversity translates into demand for new businesses to serve the needs of these residents and the opportunity to train entrepreneurs to target these needs. These changing demographics will also increase the potential for more ethnic and cultural offerings in Roswell." Key aspects of building a better Roswell are trust in our leadership, transparency within our city government. That especially includes elected representatives, your city council members, and mayor. Secrecy and lack of transparency only serve to breed discontent and distrust between residents and their city government. My commitment to you is that I will do everything I can to make decisions that I make on council and bring them into the sunlight. In a private business, failure to listen to your customers usually results in them going elsewhere for their needs. With government, picking up and moving your entire investment of your personal and business life is impractical. It is therefore essential that city leadership go above and beyond the call of duty to act in a way and take action to better serve their constituents. For example, government-sponsored community meetings should be held in places that accommodate the lifestyles and beliefs of all the residents in a way that is inviting and comfortable. In addition, I would propose that multiple times a year, the city conduct a mayor and council session in East Roswell as a way to foster inclusiveness. Conflicts can only be resolved with open and honest conversation. But more importantly, the willingness of all to listen to one another. It starts with reaching your hand out to others every time you meet. This is so simple, and yet does not happen with all of our council members today. It's time we bring that simple courtesy back to city politics. The city of Roswell recently participated in a community-wide assessment of the police department. In that assessment, a need for community engagement was identified and strongly recommended. I look forward to working with the new police chief to implement some of those strategies and that encourage more police interaction and understanding of cultural differences, special needs individuals, at-risk youth, and more. I have a friend whose adult child is a high-functioning autistic young man that loves all things cars. Interacting with her son is very rewarding if you understand his rules of engagement. He interprets things most said in a conversation quite literally. He has a heightened sense of touch and hearing. As you can imagine, an encounter with a police officer may be confusing and quite upsetting. An appreciation and understanding of his rules can make all the difference in the success or failure of that interaction. Our police force has a tough job, and we all appreciate the work they do for our community. I know I do. Because of these special circumstances, as well as many other situations, we can always look for ways to improve. Training is offered for this very situation and is very effective in streamlining conflict resolution and understanding. Our community-facing city staff, as well as elected officials, could benefit from this sensitivity training as well. Respecting differing opinions and being able to break down the details and work towards a common solution is critical. Elected officials should not be bickering on social media, but instead be leaders of civility and seeking ways to build bridges amongst each other and the community. With your support, I intend to reach out and do just that with each individual council member, the mayor, and community members. Knowledge and wisdom are not gained by talking, but by carefully listening. I promise to listen closely to all sides of an issue and make decisions that are best for residents and all of Roswell, not just special interests. Building those bridges begins with setting priorities. The first priority for me is to instill trust in our leadership. Steps to begin this process could include bringing back transcription, modernizing the mayor and council voting system so every vote is searchable by the citizens, a pledge to always keep meetings open whenever possible, avoiding decisions behind closed doors, encourage conflict resolution sensitivity training for all public servants, engage in respectful dialogue at all times with residents, business owners, and all community contacts, understanding that words matter, even when I disagree with their positions. Listen to community input and vote accordingly. Reach my hand out and shake yours, even when we disagree. As your city council member, it is my commitment to bring trust, transparency, leadership, and thoughtful change to the discourse. I will actively advocate for residents and business owners to become involved and participate in the democratic process so that all voices that wish to be heard are heard. Running for office and serving is a commitment. And with my family's understanding and as a small business owner, I'm fortunate to have the time to devote and serve the city. I humbly ask for your support and your vote for City Council Post 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, before we wrap up, I would like to invite a member of Lisa Holland's campaign team to share a brief statement from her. She is your final candidate for Post 3 who was unable to make it tonight. And I believe we have her son here with us. Just take a minute or two to read out her statement, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Dawson Holland. I'm Lisa Holland's son. She is running for Post 3 and unfortunately she could not be here tonight due to a commitment that she has made over a year ago. Today she has given me a piece of paper and with her speech, and I will be reading it aloud to you. Thank you to the Roswell Masjid for hosting this event, and thank you for the audience for taking the time to be here. My name is Lisa Holland, and I'm running for Post 3 for Roswell City Council. My apologies for not being able to meet you all tonight. I'm committed to a trip out of the country for almost a year ago, and you will find that commitment is something I prioritize. I am also a 30-year resident of Roswell, where my husband and I raised our son. I retired in May from the Roswell Police Department after 35 years of service to my community. I started at 19 years old as a dispatcher, then worked as a police officer, training officer, detective, and spokesperson. I provided an open, honest communication to the public at all times and ensured we maintain the highest level of public safety in our community. I bring unique skills to the council position with experience in public safety, operations, and public relations. I understand the challenges and changes that happen within the police departments and the community. Roswell and nationwide changes are most important in our community, with vacant positions growing. I can help Roswell be a competitive employer and keep our city safe. Roswell isn't an island, and we need to build more relationships with our local, regional, and state partners to manage transportation issues and to find a way to improve local situations. We can assume quite a few will live through the North Fulton area in the coming years. The metro region will add about 2.5 million people in the next 20 years. How we manage traffic congestion and keep our charming character is hugely important to me. Most police work is relationship building. I built a career doing just that. We need more relationships and less rock throwing. I've seen the power of positive, transparent, and collaboration within relationships that I've made through the police department. I've seen the power of positive relationships that I've made through small businesses through Roswell and connecting to each one of my citizens that I talk to. I would appreciate your vote on or before November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. And just some reminders before we wrap up. If you have recently moved to Roswell, or if you've moved around Roswell, you have until October 7th to update your voter registration. I'm sorry? Okay, October 7th. I wanted to make sure I got that right. And early voting begins on Tuesday, October 15th, and it will remain open until Friday, November 1st. I believe there is Saturday voting on October 26th, and you can go vote at Roswell City Hall or the East Roswell Branch Library or other locations that are listed on the city website. I want to give a special thank you to everyone for being here tonight. Thank you for having me as your moderator again, and I'll pass it back over to Bassem.
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you for keeping us on time, keeping all the candidates, on the straight and narrow. Thank you, candidates, for actually answering the questions. That's, refreshing from politicians that they actually, stick to the script and answer the questions. So we have a tough choice. I hope that everybody here is a little bit more educated about what each of these individuals stands for and why they're running. And you also have an opportunity to meet them individually. They're all set up with their information table in the media room that we have back there. It is now time for the evening prayers at the mosque. So the Muslims are probably going to line up here in a second, and you'll hear the call to prayer. That's just calling people to drop whatever they're doing and take 5 minutes to be in the presence of God. So you're more than welcome to observe or even join, and then we'll be available again. I would love for you who are here at a mosque for the first time to take this opportunity to maybe learn a little bit more about how we conduct our prayer services, or what do we do here, and give us a chance to introduce ourselves. There's plenty of volunteers that can answer your questions. And then last but not least, I want to thank all the people that did the work to make this happen. Brother Samir Ahmed, who's been manning the cameras and the live streaming, and everybody else that made this happen. And one more reminder, there's another debate on October 1st at the Roswell Cultural Arts Center. I believe all the candidates are there, right? Everybody is confirmed to that? Just want to make sure. Okay, so. Okay, so my understanding is everybody is confirmed to be there. I'll be there as well, so I look forward to seeing you all. And thank you so much. Have a great evening. Thank you for coming.